Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And we're going to have so much fun today because we're going to be talking about a variety of subjects. We're just going to kind of let the conversation flow where the conversation might flow. So this really is going to be a lot of fun. And, and so please join me in welcoming Jonathan Tuttle to our program today. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Great. Well, Jonathan is a Renaissance man. He's doing multiple things, and he's one of those dreaded millennials, right? I hate it when people say they don't like millennials because now, granted, the millennials that I'm in contact with are entrepreneurs. They are people like you who make a lot of the rest of us look lazy. Let's just be honest about that. But yeah, I love millennials. Millennials have so much drive and so much passion. And it's just great being able to talk with millennials. So let me tell folks just a little bit about you, Jonathan, and then we'll jump into this. So Jonathan Tuttle is the founding director of the digital marketing agency Revenue Ascend, which was selected as one of Chicago's most inspiring stories by Chicago Voyage Magazine. They are trusted by small businesses to celebrity brands using their powerful lead generation and conversion systems, omnipresence and intent-based branding, marketing automation and follow-up, dynamic call tracking, detailed analytics, along with an unmatched client support. Jonathan is also the fund manager at Midwest Park Capital, a private real estate investment firm providing accredited investors with exclusive access to high-yield investment in the mobile home park vertical. We're definitely going to talk about that because that sounds very interesting. Their fundamental strategy is to assemble a diversified portfolio of low-risk, high cash flow mobile home park assets with the goal of delivering capital preservation, constant quality on cash income paired with equity growth. Jonathan previously served as the president of the Midwest for Yale Realty and Capital Advisors. Recently, he was selected as a contributor to Forbes magazine in the Forbes Real Estate Council and has been featured in over 35, now 36, national podcasts. Jonathan was selected by Habitat for Humanity Youth Board as one of the top social media influencers in Chicago. Also, he was selected by the prestigious Crain's Chicago Business and Fox News Chicago as the best dressed Chicagoan, which made me very nervous as to what I was going to wear today. Wanting to create more value, he attended the program on negotiation for senior executives at Harvard Law School. See, I told you he was very busy. But in his spare time, Jonathan gives back to local charities and has sat on numerous boards of directors and nonprofits. So again, Jonathan, holy schmoly, I got tired just reading all of that. So welcome. I love this.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Well, one of the things that I always like to hear about from my guests is how they got started and how they got to where they are today and discovered that this is, at least for right now, your passion in life.
Sure. I think it all started when I was a kid. I think I had that entrepreneur drive as a little kid. I remember as being like little, I don't know what age, probably 4 or 5-ish. Mm-hmm. I'd have a little red wagon. I would go door knocking down everyone's like on the street, and I would sell them rocks or flowers.
You were the pet rock guy.
Yeah, I was taking it from our yard and I would sell it to neighbors, and I'd take that money to Toys R Us to buy whatever toys I wanted. And then fast forward a couple of years, I did the time in back in magazines, they'd have like, you could, basically they'd have advertisements for cards. You'd sell like holiday cards, thank you cards. So I go door knocking to everyone in entire areas, and then I would just sell the cards, and I take that money, as my cash money. And then I got older, probably like 10 or 12, I would do shoveling driveways. So I always found ways to like basically provide value and learn what it is to make an income and go buy what I wanted to buy. So I think it started first early on in that regard. So a value of hard work, which some kids, like you said, some millennials think it's too easy, but I'm at the very end of it. I look younger than I am. I'm still getting gray hair now, but plus I admit it's like you can't even go to like get haircuts nowadays.
Yeah, I know. COVID is just really thrown a wrench into a lot of things.
Yeah, so some of these like it's getting a lot of control here, but and then fast forward to early 20s, I worked at BB. I ended up being the number one seller in the country for that. And then I knew that I was transitioning over at e-commerce. And then also growing up, my dad was a real estate developer, contractor, and that's what I ultimately wanted to be as an entrepreneur, but it was kind of a segue. Had a nice run there, made a nice, 6-figure income for your first job out of college is great.
Not bad.
Yeah, not bad. So, but I knew there was more. So wanted to get in real estate. And then I saw my dad mobile home parks. We saw that from 2000. He got his first park in 2006. From that, and he sold in 2011. I saw that was the number one of all the real estate. We had different other real estates assets. It was the only one that performed well. So we know like the housing crash and everything else, it did double the value, actually almost 2.5 value. So once I saw that, I'm like, I want to get in that niche. And then also at the same time, I started, technology, like when your podcast came out, you said about 2011, I just saw that's coming really fast. So I really got, head first into like, social media marketing. So I just kind of combined like two passions and now they're vertically integrated together basically.
Great. I love it. Well, in your intro, we mentioned the fact that you're the founding director of Revenue Ascend. Yep. And it was, it was selected as one of Chicago's most inspiring stories. Why was that? That made me very curious.
Well, the media sometimes like to hype stuff up, but I think because of the fact that we have like an all-star team, we're all local. With marketing agencies, the biggest problem is now like it's open a marketing agency like over the weekend. They watch one course. They're basically a charlatan. I was doing it 2011, 12. I did a lot, like I said, the charity boards. I was doing the marketing for a lot of nonprofits to grow.
Great experience.
Exactly. So I was saying that, did the minutes, learned how that process worked, but it was so new at the time. And remember back then, organic was pre-ads, like everything is ads now. That's how the companies grow. But before, when you actually post something, you could actually, post something and like, everyone would see it. Now you
most of your fans, your followers, your whatever, they would see it.
Yeah, now it's like one out of every like 500 people see it.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky. I mean, it's gotten to the point now where like I don't even want to post because I'm like, I see the view counters and I'm like, I've seen the transition from 2011 to 12. I post something, I could be sitting next to Michael Jordan, like, hey, Michael and I had, we're talking about next charity event, and it'd be like 30 people see it. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Right. It was Michael Jordan, folks.
It's literally that bad. Or I put $5 on it and I could have like a couple thousand people see it. So it's all about paid now, but that's when I first started getting involved with the digital side of it. And going back to your question, I think it was just basically, I was really doing a lot of charity work, and that's what kind of tied back in. I was doing digital marketing and charity work, and we did really high level. I was really kind of a face. People knew me from all the different charity events. I had my dog's homeless dog event I haven't done it the last couple of years, but I did it for about 5 years in a row where we get a very popular venue on the River North. River North, if you're from Chicago, if you're not from Chicago, it's like, you always see the picture of the skyline, the river, and it's like all the beautiful, that's like the prime downtown, right next to Michigan Avenue. So we would have like a restaurant allow us to throw a dog. We get a 1-day permit to have dogs in the event. And then we rotate different, animal hospitals or, dog charity events. And so that all kind of tied into it.
Wonderful. Great. I love it. And you mentioned your work with nonprofits, whether we're paid or whether we're just volunteering. I always tell people, especially if you're just volunteering, it's such a fabulous way to get experience. I work with a lot of college kids who are, just getting out of college and they're like, I have no experience. And I said, then you go and you volunteer. And now granted right now, because we're in COVID, it does make that a challenge. But, okay, the world's going to go back to normal at some point. We're going to be able to go back to building homes, to, hosting events, to be doing all of these things. And serving as a volunteer is an absolutely fabulous way to get that experience, and be honest, tell them, hey, I've never done this part, but I want to learn. Plus, and as you found out, it's an absolutely fabulous way to make some really great connections.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what it comes down to what you alluded to, first get your credibility. I was younger. That's when I first got into entrepreneurship. So that kind of got me understanding what the end work is, like you're saying, because you don't learn from not doing the work. You learn
Right.
from executing and having mentors, and you have obviously courses and education. But I got to, like, Chicago is a big culinary city, one of the top in the
Right.
country. New York, New Orleans, obviously wine country, in California. So we have all these celebrity chefs. I get to hang out with them. When I go to the restaurants, I get, if I'm taking a date out or whatever, I get, at the fanciest restaurants, I get hooked up and get a better experience. And then sometimes people are like, how does he get like a line skip or whatever it is? It's all these like little perks. And it was 100, like I did it there was no salary or anything like that. It was just more because I wanted to, grow it. And I wanted to learn, the industry a little bit. But yeah, I got to meet some pretty cool people. And then that's what started me into doing my dog events. I thought, I'm really passionate about homeless dogs and dogs in general. So I thought that'd be kind of cool to kind of do that.
Right. Well, and it's not just celebrities. It's, when you're meeting the business people, I mean, that's for me, that's always been one of the things. I was asked many, many years ago to be on the board of what at that point was known as the Denver Buff Club. Not buff as in no clothes, buff as in Buffalo. So the University of Colorado, because we're the Buffs. And so I was asked to serve on that board. And they were really honest with me at that point in time. Now, this really was 25-ish years ago. They wanted a woman because they didn't have a single woman on their board. They wanted somebody younger. I was obviously much younger. And, but more importantly, I had a big PR background. And so I could help with the marketing. Now, it was part of the university, so it's not like they didn't have resources, but it was a great way for me to do that. And so what did I do? I looked at who the other members were and I went, ooh, those are people I want to meet. And I mean, 25 years later, I'm still connected with those people. I actually still volunteer. I just volunteer here in Atlanta for the university. But, whether you're volunteering for a university or, a nonprofit or something, it is a great way to meet people, not only that are your peers, but people that, you might never be able to meet just in everyday life. And again, it gets you fabulous experience. And most importantly, it really should make you feel good.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, nowadays everyone gets the endorphins, the rush, just by posting something like, hey, help my birthday's coming up, help this charity out. And it's like, they spent 2 seconds. Actually do something a little more meaningful. Like if you're adamant about helping, you actually go out there and, take some weekends off, take some nights off, you get to meet the connections anyway. And then you actually, really help people instead of just posting something.
Yeah. Posting the Facebook link, it's, it does raise a lot of money. We're not, but it's the cheating way. I'll go ahead and say that it's the cheating way. And again, it is hard right now to be volunteering, but, also be thinking about other things that you can do. You might really love that organization. So maybe they need help stuffing envelopes right now, or, there's so many things that you can be doing. And now the really cool thing is it's, yes, it is done virtually, but it's also, you can be picking organizations that you're not anywhere close to in proximity and volunteering for them. And because of technology, because of everything, unless you're, the boots on the ground type of, having a hammer, or put up signs or do something. I mean, you can virtually volunteer anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of for Revenue Send this year, about to launch a new offer. And what we're going to do, because I have so many projects going on, it's all about streamlining efficiency and automation and having some labor. We're doing HVAC, basically, like it's kind of a mixture of, we'll set up the ads for, there's 115,000 approximately HVAC and 110 something 15,000 plumbing. And so we're going to basically have an offer. We come in, we set their ads up, and traditional marketing agency, they want to have their retainer, 2,500, 3,000 a month for next year or whatever it is. And sometimes the average client stays 4 or 5 months, typical industry average, but we're going to charge like 4 or 5 months up front, set them up, and then we'll give them educational curriculum. They'll have access to our graphic designers. So they can change out their designs. We'll have like a teachable account where they can log in. Here's the newest algorithm changes, and then we set them up, and then they don't have to pay for any more, like, basically people sign up the Facebook ads. And one of the things we're going to say and levels, but
people think, it's trade school. Well, I'm sorry. Where would we be if we didn't have those people who have been trained
Right.
to do that? Especially when, like the poor folks in Texas, whose water pipes have all broken. I mean, all sorts of things. I mean,
Oh yeah.
the plumbers down there, bless them, they're going to be working 24 hours a day for many days. But yeah, I think, that's
Yep.
one of the things that we just in general, we always want to encourage people to be thinking about trade schools. Do they want to go on and do something more? Well, maybe, maybe they want to get a business degree because they're opening their own HVAC place or something like that. But, it's,
Yep.
it's obviously a great thing. And, they can be working, whether it's full-time working, doing apprenticeships, all those various things while they're doing, maybe going back to school, all of those other things. So great. That's a
Yeah, and
wonderful
exactly
thing.
what you alluded to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a huge shortage of it. Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank said, if you want to get rich, become a plumber.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah.
He literally said,
Yeah. I
if it
mean,
breaks, it's $500, 1,000 for like 10 minutes from them to walk in, and
mm-hmm.
and they always have special tools to shut it off. It's like, oh, this tool that you can't even get at the hardware
Mm-hmm.
store, it's purposely done.
Right. Oh yeah.
Obviously, but
And just like anything, they use words to describe it where we don't know what it is. So we think, oh,
yeah,
we needed that hooky bottom thing to turn the water off, when really, a wrench would have done. But yeah, it's something that, it's, yeah, I mean, the trades, I mean, they're definitely something. I mean, I remember now, granted, I am a lot older, when that really was something that was very strongly encouraged, was to go into the trades, because
yep,
it was a great source of revenue, of income. And in most cases, it's something that is always needed. I have a friend
yeah,
right now who is currently studying the mortuary business, which we all kind of went, okay. Um,
busy right now
yeah, and something that
because of
will
COVID.
always be needed. I
Yep.
mean, and but she is somebody who is very empathic. She's going to be wonderful at it. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of one of those things. I mean, it's one of those jobs that will always be out there.
Yeah, and everything's changing with technology. Like
Mm-hmm.
companies now, they can see they could downsize, eliminate some people if they're working from home, and if they're not working as
Mm-hmm.
much, they could downsize the hours. So you're going to be making
Mm-hmm.
less. Third world countries like the
Mm-hmm.
Philippines, India have really, really good talent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like technology wise,
Right.
India is really good, like
Mm-hmm.
really good in anything technology. Even
Mm-hmm.
Google's opening like a big
Mm-hmm.
office out there, or
Right.
already has. And then you also have the Philippines, where they know how to do everything online.
Mm-hmm.
Besides just doing virtual
Mm-hmm.
assistants, they do a lot of stuff, and they work, from
Right.
at night
Mm-hmm.
to like 6 in the morning. So those
Mm-hmm.
jobs, people can pay for the same or better talent for one
Mm-hmm.
third the price,
Mm-hmm.
and not, benefits like that. So you're
Right.
gonna see a lot more of that
Mm-hmm.
happening to degrees. And then with the trades, you also have the fact there's many ways you could do it. You could be working within a couple of years, and there's a shortage of jobs. Every time I talk to HVAC owners, they're like, well, we could grow up, but then I don't even have enough people to fill the jobs. It's
Right.
that
Oh yeah.
bad. It's
Yeah.
literally that
Because you
bad.
can't outsource that.
Right, exactly, which gives you security for the next 10,
Mhm,
15 years.
mhm,
Technology is not going to replace it.
mhm,
And on top of that, some of these like baby boomers, any niche where majority of business owners are baby boomers, and
mhm,
eventually 80% of businesses typically don't sell. They get
mhm,
handed down to their kids. Sometimes the kids don't want it. They rather cash
mhm,
out. If you've been working there for 20, 30 years, usually the second or third person and have access to maybe, hey, do seller financing. I'll
mhm,
transition
mhm.
over. I'll keep your
Yep.
legacy. Now you're owner of the
Mhm,
business. And then, or there's another angle too, while you're working your way up. I've seen this before. If you're doing HVAC or plumbing and you're doing install like for like a restaurant or bar,
mhm,
I've seen sometimes say, hey, I'll do the labor for free, but I
mhm.
want a little percentage equity of the
Right.
business.
Right. Mhm,
Because a big full bill
mhm,
down is like 30, 50,000. Like
mhm,
give me a small percentage equity or
mhm,
cash flow. And now you have a percentage of that. You do a
mhm.
couple of those. Now you have passive income while you're
Right.
sleeping.
Mhm,
So there's different ways to kind of
mhm.
structure it.
Right. Right. I love it. I love it. And it really is about, you took that negotiating class, clearly. It is about how you can negotiate the deal. I mean, and clearly there are times where the price is the price is the price.
Yep.
But so many times you can negotiate. I still remember, my husband is one of nine, and one of his brothers, we all joke that he still has the first nickel that he ever earned, tightly clenched in his little fist, and he negotiates everything.
Yeah. You
And
have to.
so and he is a pipe fitter. So back to the trades, he is a pipe fitter, but we had, but he's also a plumber, and so we'd had something at the house that, needed him to come and work on. And so, he hands me the little part and sends me off on my merry little way to Lowe's to get the little part. I came back with a little part, and he says, and I mean, it was the same part. I mean, it was just a non-broken version. And, and he said, well, how much did you pay for it? I mean, it wasn't a lot, but he was just mortified that I had not negotiated. And I'm like, I bought one of them at Lowe's. I don't think they were going to negotiate.
Right.
But, it is something for business owners to really be thinking about, and especially maybe right now, because of the pandemic, things have switched. We're having to operate differently. For many people, their cash flow really is, it is taking a hit. Yes, there are PPEs, there's all sorts of things, but if you can work out trades, if you can work out barters, all of those various things. Now, that said, there might be some legal ramifications, so check with the people on those things. Your accountant is probably one of the best people to ask about that. But it is a great time to be thinking about that. And maybe you need a new roof, and it's someone like you own a marketing company, and you can say, hey, we'll do a new website for you. That might be perfect. Now, always get everything written down and, all those terms, but yeah, I mean, now is a fabulous time to be thinking about alternative ways to pay.
Yeah, just being creative. It's really, business comes down to the more creative are, you could create your own solutions.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I'm looking to do is acquire 3 HVAC companies in next year.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, just like alluded to, the baby boomers are going to retire. And then we could use, it's called a special purpose vehicle. It's a legal document, which you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
We could actually acquire assets. It's how Wall Street buys. It's how the hedge funds buy. Private equity buys deals. You could hedge. You put all the debt or all the bad assets in one vehicle. It's called an SPV. So basically an LLC. And then you put all the positive and the employees in the other. And then you also have no liabilities. So you could actually, if everything goes bad, you could actually you have nothing in your name and nothing, no risk against you. But the way to acquire businesses, and you can also use the cash flow, the assets from the business. You could say, hey, well, you have accounts receivable. You also have net 70 or net 75 or whatever. You could say, well, we'll bring it down to here. We'll take that cash flow. People will finance on the cash flow to use as down payment. And you can also use some of the seller financing, or you can bring in individual investors to invest into acquiring the HVAC business. Right. And if you're buying it right now, some people, new administration, the taxes might change. So some people might not want to deal with the taxes are going to go up, corporate taxes. So they'll be like, you know what, I've had this for 25 years. Let me just get out now. I don't want to deal with it. There's always people like that. Approach those people, even if it's one out of 100 to want to sell. That's a great opportunity for you. And that's your highest, most likely prospect to acquire. Use the SPV, use the cash flow or assets, asset-based finance. Bring in other investors if you need to, and that's why acquire. And then you're acquiring an average business in the U.S. sells for a 2.25 or 2.5 EBITDA. So if you acquire, let's say, and once you hit, let's say, typical HVAC's $2.5-3 million for plumbing, typical business. You acquire, let's say, I'm trying to pull 3 together. I get 10 million, 2 million EBITDA or cash flow after all expenses. Instead of buying, I remember we were buying each one at 2.5 and using the other financing. Now we go to private equity. Private equity will buy it at a 7 or 8 multiple. So you bought it 2, now it's selling at 7 and 8 plus your cash flow, plus you're not using your money, you're using other investors or the business seller financing plus the cash flow from the inventory or the products. So you can wait to get a nice multiple on your money, and it's a really high level strategy right there.
And clearly you have to have knowledge about those industries and buy a business that is an ongoing concern. Now, that said, there are probably an awful lot right now that are struggling, that are great businesses, but because of pandemic and various things, they're struggling a bit. But you at least have to know enough to be able to manage them or hire the people that you trust to manage them. You might not have to know how to fix that widgety doohickey thing with the water pump, but if you know that you've hired the right people to do it, that's really what it takes.
And usually what you do too, also in regards to that, you also usually want to hire the second in charge. You kind of give them equity. They've been there the longest.
Yeah, make it worth
bring
it
an
for
operational manager. Usually bring an operational manager, and then you also have a transition where you pay. When you're doing the seller financing, you do a 3 or 4 year you take the cash flow and you pay them per year for like 3 or 4 years. And you say, hey, you have to stay on for like 2 years as a consultant or 3 years. You have them plus the second person, plus an operational manager to run the day-to-day. So that hedges against it. Plus the SPV is a legal entity. You could literally lose everything and you have nothing on your plate. It's really high level. It's what Wall Street does.
Yeah.
And then also for like, alluding with the digital marketing side, you could also, if somebody wants to do a trade barter, what you could do too is do like a phantom equity. So you could say, hey, I see, instead of me charging, which I just picked up a multi-location practice for digital marketing. And one thing we're going to do too, they're doing like, they have multiple, they have the senior geriatrics, and they also have family health. And then they also have dermatology. They have like multiple practices, and now they're building out like IV therapy, anti-aging, and like the stem cell therapy, more of the advanced, biohacking of, quality of life, preventative health type stuff. And so they want to franchise the model. So I'm doing, a percentage plus, if we see how the partnership goes, then we'll do like a phantom equity, and then I'm going to have multiple locations, and I'll also be like, my agency will be the marketing. If they franchise it, we're still trying to figure out the details, but either I could do like a percentage of equity from every location, and or do be the exclusive marketing agency. Like when you have like a franchise, you have allocation towards marketing. We provide that, and we build a team accordingly just for that brand. So just being creative like that and thinking outside the box, and they're like that because it's less overhead for them. They have somebody they know, like, and trust that can perform, and you can build. When you have skin in the game or a partnership like that, you're more committed than just a fee. And a fee base sounds great, but if you could have equity or phantom equity, and the benefit for phantom equity, you're not taxed immediately up front. So you take a regular equity, your tax bill for that year could be hit heavier. So if you do phantom equity, the way to kind of mitigate your taxes over time. So.
Okay, so for many people, what you said just went over their heads. And so do you work with people to help them through this process? Or is this just your own experience?
This is not me just being creative.
Okay. Okay. See there, I just gave you another idea for another business. I'll expect some kickback from that.
Yeah. So Revenue Send, that's the one that we do a lot of. I have two business, right? So I have the Revenue Send is digital marketing agency, and that's where we do one client per month, and everything else is more education component. Side. And then I have another SPV. It's called businesscashout.com. That's the website, but we're mainly just focused on HVAC businesses, but either of them to combine. If I when I talk to like business owners, I see an opportunity where I could have a solution like, hey, would this make sense? Or we could do a revenue share. It's more creative and it's more high level than just the fee based, and it's more skin in the game. And I also do like 1 or 2 day consulting where I kind of come in. So I'd say instead of me charging, and I'm pretty expensive, share front, but I'd say, hey, can I get maybe a percentage of revenue share where it makes more sense to you and your business? I can already see where you need to kind of navigate accordingly. And then with digital, the best thing about digital is everything is online right now. So like the skill sets in digital, it's like I advertise in all kinds of different things. I do mailers, I've done TV, I've done electric billboards, obviously magazine ads, trade publications, but the trade shows, and I speak at trade shows sometimes. But the one that's the most predictable is Facebook, LinkedIn, Google. You put an X amount of dollars in, you get X amount back on demand. And the algorithm finds, once you have an offer, the right solution, the right market, Dan Kennedy calls it the right message, market fit, market media fit. You literally just put in $1, you get $3 back or $4 back or whatever your offer is. You just keep putting it in. And that's the beauty right now with digital marketing is you could, for the next 5 or 6 years, it's kind of like the old Wild Wild West from back California and San Fran, so it's kind of like that right now. We have a couple of years where it's still, now we're starting to see too, the government's starting to crack down like, hey, there's too much information about you. And we know Apple and Facebook just had a huge fallout. So, and Google, and then so Google also is going to have less pixels in like next year, 2022. Pretty sure. So there's going to be more. There's going to be more regulations and things of that nature, but there's still a room. The key is to get the clients to treat them well, get them in your email list, get them events, get them in part of your
right. And of course, the key in that is exactly what you said, getting them off of that and into your own, because you never know when those platforms could change, could go away, could decide, they're going to charge you, all those things. So you want to get that data appropriately and legally, so, this isn't just, we're going to take your LinkedIn database and download it. Get people to go to your, you run a Facebook ad, you get them to go to the website, they sign up to get your newsletter. That's the way to get their information.
Yeah. And it's so powerful. And depending on your business model, like the way it's kind of hedging now too, because there's 6.5, I don't know exact number. It went down a little bit. It used to be up to about 7 million advertisers on Facebook, but it's getting more and more costly. And then we also know just what I alluded to before, just mentioned before with Facebook and Apple, the retargeting, which is basically once you go on a website, it kind of follows you around the internet.
Right.
They're not keeping track of all the data because people have the choice to opt out. And that was kind of like, that was the big value of it, because you follow up to people, like you do a video follow-up. It's like 1/10 or 1/20 of a penny to follow up with a video message to somebody based on what website you went to or what you talked to them before. It just, you can't get that anywhere.
Right.
You can literally measure it.
Well, and, for people that complain about Facebook and things like that, I mean, it's, for one thing, as the consumer, we use it for free. So, that's kind of what I tell people is, you use it for free. Therefore, they get to do what they want with it. They have to make their money somehow, and so they do that by selling the ads. And, it's always fun, especially to kind of play the game. Like I've decided, we during the pandemic, my husband has been home officing, and he will continue that. I mean, his business has already said, this is pretty much it. And so we thought about it. We thought, okay, in the last 10 months, how many times have we needed both of our cars at the same time? 5, maybe. Right. I mean, just not a lot. And now part of that is because I'm not going to events and meetings and things like that. But, and so we said, well, why have that expense of that second car? But then I immediately thought, oh, I want to buy a little pickup. Because we go to the garden store, I mean, all these various things, and you hate putting that stuff in the good vehicles. And so, so all I did was go to one of my browsers on one of my mini machines and typed in just one of the names. That's all I needed to do. Now I'm getting Facebook ads. That's, I don't have to research. It comes to me. Now, of course, I realize that this is paid. I mean, it's coming to me because, and so I still have to do my own research. I mean, if it shows me, say, Consumer Reports, well, it's their version of their product on Consumer Reports. I mean, all those various things. But yeah, I mean, we do that. But I tell people, who are thinking about doing Facebook ads, I tell them, this is how Facebook makes its money. Let's forget that it's, a stock, but this is how it makes its money. Therefore, it wants the advertisers to be happy and to do it again. And so Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, all of the ones that have advertising, they really work with you to get you to be happy. They don't want you going, well, I just wasted $100. I got absolutely nothing. No, they're going to help you target. They're going to help you write the message. I mean, all of these various things. And I say help a little cautiously, because it's not like there's, they're going to come sit at your desk and really help you. But there is, there's support out there if you want to do things like that. But of course, the nice thing is it's still somewhat, and obviously it depends on what you're advertising, all sorts of things, fairly inexpensive. It's much better than, say, a television ad or, some things like that. And so I think that's where a lot of people really need to be thinking about is, should they be doing online advertising? And in many cases, that answer is yes.
Yeah, at least for the next few years. This is the time to do it. Like it's going to be separate the other people. It gives you an opportunity, even the playing field, the ones, the big market dominators, like look, say it's an HVAC and they're plumbing and they have like TV commercials every hour, billboards everywhere. It's an opportunity to give you a brand presence wherever you want, your local market, and in front of people all the time. Select income. Well, they keep changing all the different targeting. It keeps getting more and more
but you can get that target down pretty
small
specific.
Area, and you could, it used to be like anything. You like, oh, they have how many credit cards? 15. You want 20 credit cards? You could target credit cards income. Like that's the old way. Now with and then especially now they've kind of pulled back to it, like housing and credit and some other stipulations. Anything that starts getting too invasive, the Congress and
but
government
location is
back
good.
at them.
Yeah, I mean,
Location's still
HVAC, you're going to
available, yeah.
want to only have it be shown within, say, a
Yeah, for local
10-mile
business,
radius.
brick and mortar,
Or
yeah.
and a homeowner, various things. And we've always done that. I mean, I remember years ago when we did direct mail campaigns,
Mhm.
we actually had these printed things that went out in the mail. And we would figure out, okay, well, this part of town probably not going to use our services. This part of town probably will. Now we didn't, you could get it down to income. I mean, all sorts of things. And depending on how much you wanted to pay for the list, I mean, you could get it down to, it wasn't going to say resident or occupant. It was going to have the person's name.
Mhm.
So then you thought, oh, this really did come to me. But it was, and so we've been doing this for years. And so, digital online advertising, they're just doing the same thing. It's just online.
Yeah, and you can actually do a combination of both. You could do,
Yep.
post office now has the ED,
Right.
every door direct mail, and it's very affordable. So it goes, you could literally pick routes, and you could say, I want income or this street and it has 300 houses or 20 businesses, and it just goes to them only. And then you could from a 5x5 to like a 12x12. The key with direct mail is, I think, it's just having a core offer. The demographics, have an offer, a statement to drive them to the website or call your phone and record the phone call with call rail. It still works. You're hitting it from multiple angles, and it's cheap. Everyday direct mail, you can 30 cents, 50 cents, compared to, it's way cheaper than actual postage because it's efficiency for the model. And you could literally, like you said, you could pick the path, and you could do a combination where you're hitting them from multiple angles. And then how Comcast does for TV, they have not every market is Comcast, but it's one of the biggest TV providers. They have I forgot the name of it, but I did it a couple years ago, but I had B2B. I only works B2C, but I just want to say I had TV commercials for revenue to send. But you can start for like $500 or $600, and you could do you can pick the channels like history or packages, and you can pick the cities. So it's kind of cool. But having multiple angles, I mean, marketing always works if it's measurable, and then you have offers, and every time how many calls or how many people come in. You have systems process and a team that could convert them. If you could convert them profitably, you could scale your business accordingly.
Right. And I mean, it's marketing 101, whatever you're using. I mean, you need to measure it, you need to track it, all of those various things, because if you don't have those, then you don't know if it's successful, and so then you're going to think, well, why should I spend my money, my time, my energy doing that again? It's funny, years ago, I used to work for the American Cancer Society, and we were getting ready to run a campaign, and they said, well, how will we know, the bosses above me, how will we know if what we were doing was effective? And even back then, I said the really easy way is we have a separate phone number for it. So we know that, that number that they called. Now, are you going to have people who look them up in the phone book and all that? Yeah, sure, you're going to have that. But the majority were going to use that number, whether it was registering for the event or making a donation or whatever. And of course, now there's that little thing called Google. What is it? Google phone. And now, you shouldn't use this if you're a big business, probably, but if you're, a fairly small test market or something, it's a free number, and even through the various services, numbers are not all that expensive. And so you can buy it, obviously specific email addresses that you're directing them to, landing pages. I mean, all of those various things should be tracked, so that okay, well, this specific ad that I ran on Facebook got me this. This one, not so much. Okay, so we're either going to tweak it or do something different, or just not do it again. But we're going to and so you have to be able to measure these things to know if they're successful, or if what changes you need to be making.
Yeah, what is measured grows. So, and you'd be surprised though, any business, a lot of times once they get hit the 2 million plus, between the 2 to 5 in a small range, a lot of times they're not even they're just doing marketing. They have some that they're measuring, but a lot of times they're just I'm just keep doing marketing because I'm growing.
Oh, we're going to try this, we're going to try that.
A lot of them are.
I tell people it's the squirrel thing.
I got this.
The bright shiny object. Oh, let's try this now. I had somebody the other day say to me, hey, we want to try TikTok. I said, why? And they said, well, because it's the up and coming thing. And I said, are the people you care about on TikTok? And they went,
yeah, the demographic is young.
They have a credit card. The other new thing, Clubhouse. I mean, right? It was huge for Now I don't even see very much about Clubhouse. I think Clubhouse has kind of come and gone, really.
I think the scarcity fact. I mean, I joined a couple
Yeah,
months
when
ago,
you had to have an invitation, that's always the key.
Yeah, it's like exclusivity. It's like if you're younger and you want to go to a nightclub and like you can't get in with ropes or whatever it is, or sitting closer front row in a baseball game. It's the same premise, but so people want to have that, the feeling. But one thing I don't like about it is like it's kind of like this energy, like kind of what you mentioned, the millennials and some of the people, not just millennials general, but there's people that read one book, one course, and now they start a chat room, and now they're dictating like, oh, they're not experts. They don't have thousands of hours, like Malcolm Gladwell says. They don't have 4 or 5 years industry or done anything that. Now they're hosting a room, and now they're the expert, but only expert for just hoping the group. But
they're an expert because they call themselves the expert.
And that platform kind of makes it. And you're like, I listened to a couple, I'm like, I wouldn't even hire these people in one of my business. Like, and they're the expert. I'm like, no. So I haven't allocated any time to it. But what you mentioned too, it's like that. With digital marketing, Facebook has the best data. LinkedIn's supposed to have the highest demographic. It's not as targeting. It's not as good. Google, if you can measure, if you really know how to target, like Google's got a more complicated back end for like you're not really familiar with digital, but it's depending on what your niche is, you could literally put X amount in. It's higher tickets, really good. Facebook's good for like e-commerce, local businesses, things of that nature. TikTok, remember, and Snapchat. I've tried Snapchat. I didn't have much. You get a lot of clicks, but if you look at the demographics, you could look at research. The average TikTok person, most kids don't even have a credit card until like 21.
Right. Yeah. And so if you're going after a younger demographic, it's like,
you would maybe a local, I mean, movie theaters aren't even open, like a movie theater, they're not even going to movie theaters. I guess like it'd be like for like Netflix, download apps, things of that nature. It has to pertain to them. Like basically like that type of demographic where they use other parents' money, Netflix, TV shows, stuff like that. But if you're selling a product, you're not going to get much in there.
No.
Facebook's the best. I think Facebook's still the best overall. Just because
just the sheer numbers. I mean, that's the thing. But I always tell people, if your audience is there, then that's where you need to be, even if you don't like it. Because that's the other thing. I don't like Facebook. Well, I don't care. Maybe you don't like TV either. But if the people that you are trying to sell your product or service to are watching TV, the History Channel, then you had better be advertising, or at least considering advertising there. Just because you like something better, no. And so that's where you have to know your clients, and you have to know your potential clients. And we've talked on this program before about that's, the most important thing is figure out who that niche is. Because, we can't say everybody. We always want to, right? Well, who are you trying to reach? Everybody. No, nobody sells their product to everyone. Doesn't matter what it is, because there's price points. There's all sorts of different things. And so you have to narrow it down. And as small business owners, especially if you're starting out, that's scary because you're thinking, well, but I'm leaving people out. Well, if they're interested, they'll somehow find it. But you don't want to waste money on the people who really aren't going to be buying your product or your service.
Yeah, focus on Russell Brunson. He takes all of his stuff from Dan Kennedy, classic marketer, but which everyone, you're probably familiar with him. Dan Kennedy, Galliard Halbert from like the 80s, 90s. 1,000 people is all you need to have $1 million business. 1,000 raving fans, and then you also have the Chet Holmes. He was a big speaker with Tony Robbins back in the day. He had the Dream 100, which is to really grow your business, find your top 100 prospects, even if it's way out of your realm. Market to them, hit them from different angles, be creative, send mailers, send gifts to them, and just really random stuff to get in front of them. That's unusual.
Right.
And then if one of those clients could be worth 200,000 or 300,000, you get a couple of them. That's the quickest way to go.
Yeah. Well, and you want them then to be your raving fans and be telling everybody about you.
That's what it is.
Everybody always forgets about word of mouth.
That person basically builds you up into either another network, or they just put a lot of capital in your business, or think that's basically the whole premise of it.
Yeah. But it's something that people tend to forget, or, they are thinking about the next bright, shiny object. No, stick with what
Niche
works.
Down. The riches are in the niches. The more granular, the more like you mentioned, like HVAC, plumbing, go where people don't want to go, and you're going to have a blue ocean. Like if everyone's doing digital marketing, kind of happening, like, so we just do more of a consulting high level, and then we have the educational, and we turn out more like 3 out of 3 out of every 4 people. So then we'd also take them on because we would know that there was people going to transition to the 3 months and go on to the next marketing agency. We don't want those clients. We want people like leaders in the market. And that kind of with mobile home parks, like you go where the niches are, where people are like focused on. If everyone in the house is flipping a house, they're all watching HGTV, and every show is about flipping houses. And there's seminars, like 500 people in the same, 2 years ago, when they come back on, everyone's flipping a house in the same town for the 3 available for sale by FISBOs. You think that's a really good opportunity? And then you have to get, find the niches where some people, you can live the lifestyle you want from the income you make from those other businesses and serve those people that need it. And that's the quickest way to grow, is to find little niches that more people would just pass by. It's the quickest way to grow.
Right. Yeah. And speaking of niches, I want to talk about the mobile home parks and because it's so funny, because, the one of the first things that people, trailers, and of course, many look like a home. Well, they're, as in, they don't look like a trailer. But I have to share. So I'm a huge Big Bang Theory fan. And so I still remember the episode where Penny's father came to visit, and he was telling Leonard, he said, "I really need you to marry my daughter because I don't want her marrying somebody who has a house on wheels." But that kind of, people do think that. And of course, the situation is that you're going to have any type of good and bad housing. Doesn't matter, if it's the $1 million mansion or not. But, the thing about mobile homes is they're affordable. And especially now, that's going to be something that the people are looking at. There's so many advantages to purchasing mobile homes. And so tell us about that, because that really does fascinate me.
Yeah, it's unusual, because when I got into space about 15 years ago through my dad, I would tell my friends, and they're like,
they do the ew. They go, right?
Especially in their 20s.
Or they step back.
They're like, what is that? Homes, like, why do you want to get involved with that? I'm like, because it's the one that's doing the best, and it serves a need. There's 60 million Americans that need affordable housing, only 12 million mobile homes, and 44,000 parks. So at any given time, there's such a huge supply and demand where you need, people need the housing and they just don't have availability to it. And there's different types of parks. There's 1 through 5 scales. Like a 1 and 2 is kind of like what you mentioned. Like every time there's a cop TV show, they're like,
they're there.
Those are the ones that you see on there. And like you said, it could be any real estate. It could be the slumlord that owns the apartment complex, or it could be the house in the end of town that hasn't painted, the outside of it, or it's been abandoned or had a fire. It doesn't matter what type of real estate. There's always, right now, abandoned mall retail properties that were malls 5 years ago.
All these malls are going under because of COVID.
Yeah, and everyone's on e-commerce and using digital marketing, so they can acquire customers cheaper and they don't have the rent. But the mobile home park space, I have 2 solutions. I have the Mobile Home Wealth Academy, and then I have the Midwest Park Capital. Midwest Park Capital acquires the parks through accredited investors, which means you have to make 200,000 singly, or 300,000 as a married couple for the last couple of years. And or have $1 million liquid net worth, not including your house. And so it's a way for them to get involved with getting a passive investment that has been the strongest real estate for the last 50 years. It was the strongest last year by far. There was kind of alluded to the statement, was Green Street Data is a data source of all commercial real estate. And like you said, malls, like a 28% negative property value last year, 28 negative. Hotels negative 25. Like everything logically makes sense. We know they're not open. Nobody's going there. In retail properties down to -8. Mobile home parks went up 12%, increased in value. So just because of supply and demand. And then for the park side of it, that's just a great way to get involved with all Wall Street's really big into it. Private equities, all the billionaires are really into our space because they see supply and demand, and it's the strongest performing, lowest failure rate, highest returns, and has the best tax benefits too, which is all these crazy anomalies all in one. But in the Mobile Home Wealth Academy, which is like teaching the 88% of people aren't accredited investors. So I'm like, well, if I'm already doing the marketing, I could do an online course. They log in, we bring in experts. I could teach people how to flip houses. Compared to like flipping homes, we need 20% down. You need a 700 credit. You need all these other things. This is the easy way. And mobile homes start at a couple grand, if a grand sometimes.
Right, because their value is just less.
Yeah, and there's all different parks. Homes. So they could have homes that are like that. You could have double wides or newer. A brand new mobile home is 80,000 typically.
Right.
But a newer, older home late 70s, early 80s, $5,000, put a couple grand in it, $5,000 or $7,000 profit, maybe $10,000 profit. And the beauty for that is the Americans that need affordable housing, instead of going by an $80,000 house, now they have a fully remodeled house for $15,000.
Right. Right.
In
a nice area that is well maintained. I mean, all sorts of really good benefits.
Yeah. And it's like most of the parks are like, once we go from the fun or 3 or 4 star, the 5-star are like waterfront, like
I was thinking Arizona, and because that's Coast, retirement. There's a lot Florida, of people who've moved there for retirement.
Yeah, there's 5-star ones too. They're astronomical. Like there was a park that was just sold September. Chicago bought it for like one park, $238 million.
Whoa!
So, and then there's also like Paradise Cove in Malibu, and that Matthew McConaughey used to live there. Pamela Anderson, Betsy Johnson, the designer, and I forgot some Hollywood directors. It's right on the ocean, right on pristine, like the highway, whatever that famous highway is, Pacific Coast Highway, I think it's called. And the homes go for $2 million to $6 million for a mobile home.
Wow!
But next door, the house is $50-100 million. So they're on the same beach, walk, and then they only pay $39. Instead of all those huge taxes, I think it's a $39 recreational vehicle tax or something.
Right.
And all the neighbors
because it is mobile. I mean, that's even though it might not have moved in 30, 40 years.
They never do. Yeah, they never move. Once they go on 95%, they never move. So
if you had to move them, the tires are no good and all that good stuff.
Yeah, they're on axles. And then you don't want to move something that's been connected to a foundation for 30,
because it's going to shift,
and then you put it up on a semi and drive down the road, and that's another reason why it's such it has such a strong valuation. It's been successful because even to move it across the street, you have to unplug all the electrical plumbing, all that, and then hire a licensed plumber, special semi truck.
Right. It's like moving a regular house.
$5 or $10,000 to move it across the street, literally. So. And that's why it's great to invest in them, and then also great to like flip them. And flip them, one of the easiest things with the course we're trying to teach is it's this great way to give back and get into real estate, and then use like digital, basic Facebook marketplace free ads. It's a great way to sell it. So you can do local, drive in the weekend, go look for the FSBOs. A lot of small parks. There's always a couple parks, especially I know there's a lot by Atlanta too, or Georgia. You drive around, you see a little regular sign, like realtors don't go for it because they're not going to work the weekend for $100 commission. But you can go that, do like, I'll market on Facebook for you. You could do a contract. We forgot the contracts, and you can say, hey, I'll market for you and whatever. What do you need to see from it? And then, flip the contract basically and just put it on Facebook ads because they are just going to have somebody call and underprice them. You can say, hey, I'll get you more. Right. And then you could put it out to a bigger audience for free and make a $3 or $5,000 just for flipping the contract.
Right.
And then
housing right now.
Waste their time.
Yeah, housing is at a premium right now.
Yeah,
for a variety of reasons, and people really, I think many people, especially because of the pandemic, are thinking we need to downsize. Even if their income was not affected, I think there's still, there's that little thing in the back of their head where they're thinking, this, how long is this going to go on? Things like that. But more importantly, they're also thinking. And we're seeing this, and I think we're really going to see it in the next several years, is the whole remote workplace. We've kind of talked about that a little bit. I think so many people are going to go, you know what? I don't have to live in Atlanta, in Chicago, in New York. Right. I can go live out in the boontoons of wherever, as long as I've got good Wi-Fi. That's all I need. And they don't need the big house. They don't need, all the amenities around them, and so a mobile home might be exactly what is going to suit their purpose, at least for, maybe 5 years or so. And then they're going to go, okay, well, now we're ready to go somewhere else. We're ready to retire, whatever. But I could see this as being something that really can take off because of the whole mobile workforce thing.
Yeah. To your point, like all the data backs that up. There's multiple. Stanford just did a study, the mega trends of 2021. Almost everyone hit on like people moving out of the cities. You also see Chicago, New York. New York never give concessions. Like buildings down the street from me, they're normally not they give 1 month free. Now they're giving 3 months free, and then they're also knocking $500 off. Like normally they'd raise it up every year, and you never get concessions. Now they're just giving you whatever because everyone's moving out. There's such a vacancy. Also, millennials. Is we're seeing more millennials, like once it opens back up with traveling, they want to be able to live in Bali for 6 months because they're working online anyway. So they rather live in a mobile home here for cheap and spend that money traveling. We get this tiny house trend.
Mhm.
And then the biggest trend is the baby boomers, 10,000 retiring every day.
Mhm.
And 65 to 70% of them.
We don't want those big houses with lots of stairs.
Well, that's exactly the point. So it's called the silver tsunami. That's kind of what they've called it. It's going to be 1/3 or 2/3 of all houses are going to be hitting the market over the next 12 to 15 years, and they're going to downsize, like you alluded to. So certain markets can be overflooded with homes, and then they're going to downsize. And 1/3 are going to go to assisted living centers. The more affluent will go to assisted living centers, which are typically 5,000-6,000 a month. But the other ones, they're going to either go to mobile home parks or Class C apartments. And especially if they mostly just have 30, 35,000 Social Security, people are living longer, in savings plus Social Security, we're the only option. We're half the price of a Class C apartment, plus you have your own yard, plus you don't have neighbors knocking, you can pull your car, to your point, just like an apartment building, most of the time those garden style apartments, they have 2 or 3 flights, and you have to park your car 3 blocks away. Well, you can pull your car out in your carport or right next to your house, and sometimes you have a garage, walk 5 steps, 3 steps up, and you're in your house.
Right.
So all these benefits. So we're seeing, and that's already 1/3 of our population, and we're going to see that trend, the millennial trend for the next generation. Plus, as with the outsourcing, and then also even with the $15 an hour, that gives, which is pretty much going to be hitting more legislation. They're not just because you went from $15 an hour. That doesn't give you. You're not going to go and buy a house with that.
Right.
It just gives you a little more spending money. So it actually helps our niche even more because now they have more money for food and more living. So all the trends, it's literally check, and that's why Wall Street's gotten so big in the space. So people are looking for a niche that has like a good 5-year run, mobile home park investing, and or flipping the mobile homes if you're not a credit investor or you don't have a lot of capital and you want to get started. It's a great avenue because every trend and everything just fits a line perfectly, and it's not oversaturated right now.
Right. Yeah, we hate that bad things happened in 2020, but every time you have bad things, you have good things that come from it. And so that I think is one of the things. And yeah, I can really see people going, okay, I can still have my own home. It's just going to be so much smaller. And that's fine. I look at those tiny homes and they totally fascinate me, but I have so much stuff, there'd be no way. But yeah, so, they're going to downsize, they're going to do that. But yeah, the grounds are still taken care of. There's, all of those things. And as you said, they're not on top of each other, literally, like they are in an apartment or even a duplex or things like that. And they're just, they're going to, you don't have an apartment typically that's going to have that much space unless you're really paying. And so that's the other thing is you can get a lot of space for a lot less money.
Yeah. And if you're getting to your point, the average national apartment rent right now is still like $1,300 for a 2-bedroom, $1,250, $1,300, right around there.
That's
average
a small apartment.
Yeah. And it's 2-bedroom average, 850, 1,000 square feet. Like the same equivalent 1,000 square feet mobile home. You're probably paying $350, $450 across the country. And they're saying back in the 50s, 60s, when mobile home parks first really got big, really being developed, the average lot runs $50. So in order to cover inflation, if Duke professor of finance did a study, it said the average park should be $550 or $600 right now. So we're actually underpriced based on inflation. A lot of these mom and pops have had these for 40 years. They're already multimillionaire. They've already paid the park off. It's cash flowing. They're making $300-400. It's a bigger park, maybe close to $1 million in cash flow. They don't care about raising it up an extra $100 so they can make an extra $50,000. So there's opportunity to acquire it and still make money and still be ethically fair and put some CapEx and improve the grounds and stuff like that. So.
I love it. And I think it's something that so many people never even think about because again, we've got that whole negative stereotype, and it's like, okay, just get over it, folks. And because green money is green money, and if you're providing great, high quality homes for people
for cheap.
That's that's the good thing. Well, oh my gosh, Jonathan, we are almost at the top of the hour. I always say this is why I set a timer because we could go on forever. You have multiple websites. So again, tell us where people find those.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thanks again for having me on. It was fun. Revenue Sun is the digital marketing agency and we have consulting. So basically we do about 1 client per month. If you're looking, we're creative. If you want to have us come in, set your stuff up. From Google, Facebook, websites, custom websites, high end, very high end, and you actually want measurable growth. Typically, like $750 or $1 million and above. Or if you're below that, that's kind of where the consulting angle comes in, and that's usually about $500,000 above, where you have some we're not looking to complete turnarounds because like if we too much work for us, we're too in demand right now. But that's revenue to send, and then also if you're in HVAC, we have revenue to send. The educational / setup. That's a new offer coming out. Mobile Home Wealth Academy is the flipping course. So it teaches you how to flip, wholesale, just basically how to get involved in mobile home parks. If you're already looking to get involved in real estate, you want to get the cheapest form of real estate, the easiest way to market it, the least competition, don't need high credit. And we have like a full step-by-step. We actually about when it starts warming up here, it's end of February, but next month we're going to actually record live full convert, like here's how to fix everything step by step. And we have all the top, because of the fund, we have a lot of the top big people. I've gotten convinced them to come on, like here's how to get involved in the industry. Here's tips, and there are no other websites or courses. So I'm really bringing all these like high level experts, and we have a private Facebook group and a year money back guarantee. So we really want to help people. It's just a way for me to kind of give back. And it also helps our industry too, because we're revitalizing these old homes, and we're also providing for people that need affordable housing instead of bringing all brand new homes in. So that's Mobile Home Wealth Academy. And if you're an accredited investor and you want passive income, equity growth, we're really known historically. Wall Street Journal did an article for the last 12 years, strongest performing by far, almost like tech stock type performance. The last housing crash, that's Midwest Park Capital. And another thing too, besides equity multiple, mobile home parks, which I kind of alluded to, have the best tax advantages. So that's what really draws in a lot of people. We could depreciate the land at 15 years improvements.
Wow.
65 to 70% of a mobile home park, where the homes sit on, especially in the Midwest, or sitting on cement, that's depreciated. Plus you have the bonus depreciation, which might go away, and cost segregation. But if you want to lower your taxes, like we get a lot of lawyers, doctors, small business owners, you want a passive income, top performing quarterly payouts, mobile home parks is the way to go. So that's Midwest Park Capital.
Great. I love it. I love it. And you're on LinkedIn. We found you on LinkedIn. And so, that's always a great place. Well, Jonathan, we do just have about a minute left. So is there any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with? I
just think, take advantage of this opportunity right now. Like this, like you said, it's when some people see challenges, look at it as an opportunity. It was a great growth year. So dig down, take advantage of this opportunity. Because like you said, it's probably going to turn around, maybe not in the next 6 months. Who knows whether it's going to fully go away, the whole COVID situation, but it's going to eventually go away, most likely, like unless some weird strand comes out.
We'll adapt. I mean,
we've gotten used to it. So maybe everything's just going to be digital, and like we're not going to have face-to-face relationships anymore. But just take the time and just use it for growth, and like, invest in business, invest in your business, invest in yourself, invest in education, listen to podcasts like this, continue to fill your brain and to go out and take action. And, then at the end of the day, after you do all that, you could also get back to society, get involved with some different charities. And that's a way to make a positive impact, protect your future, and, bring more value to the society.
Perfect. I love it. Well, Jonathan, I've been having a great discussion with you, and, you've got so much great information, and so I'm going to direct people to revenueascend.com but you've got your other sites. And so we want people to find those too. But I'm Deb Creer. I've been having a great discussion with Jonathan Tuttle. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.